This true story will shock you, but before we get into it, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious, you've come to the right place. I'm Joe, an ex-police officer and the founder of CaseDog.io, where I create immersive murder case files, so do check it out. On YouTube, I release 4 to 5 times a week, so don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Now, let's dive into today's story. Our story starts early on the morning of the 2nd of February 2012 in Anchorage, Alaska. Picture a vast, snowy parking lot right off a 4-lane highway. In one corner sits a small, brightly painted coffee stand called Common Grounds. A young barista arrived for his shift early that morning and immediately noticed something was off. The lock on the employee entrance was already undone, and as he stepped inside, he found the place in a bit of a mess. Napkins scattered about, cups left out, and towels on the floor. Normally, the young woman who'd worked there the night before, 18-year-old Samantha Koenig, was very diligent about closing up. Even stranger, when he opened the cash register, all the money was gone. Convinced they'd been robbed, he immediately called the shop's owner. On the previous evening, Samantha was supposed to be picked up by her boyfriend, Dwayne. But Dwayne had arrived about half an hour late, only to find no sign of her. Coffee kiosk was dark and locked, with no one around. He tried texting and calling Samantha, but he got no answer. Concerned, he headed over to Samantha's father's home to see if she'd simply gone there instead. But her dad, James, said she hadn't come back. Together, James and Dwayne spent hours calling and texting Samantha's phone, growing increasingly worried. At first, they thought she might have gone off to cool down after an argument she'd had with Dwayne, but Samantha wasn't returning messages from either of them. By the following day, James's anxiety reached breaking point, so he filed a missing persons report with the Anchorage police. While the police started looking into Samantha's disappearance, the owner of Common Grounds handed over the shop's security camera footage. The video, lacking any audio, was from the night Samantha went missing. In the clip, she appears to be in good spirits, getting on with her usual tasks behind the counter. Suddenly, a shadowy figure arrives outside the window. Samantha turns to make a drink, then hands it over with a smile, only to step back in alarm with her arms raised. She quickly switches off the kiosk's interior lights, and the next thing we see is Samantha dropping to her knees, facing away from the window. She stays that way for about a minute, gets up, fetches money from the register, and hands it over to the person outside. The footage shows her kneeling again, then a man leaning in through the window, apparently tying her hands. He finally climbs inside, forces her outside through the employee door at gunpoint, and leads her away towards a white pickup truck. The video stunned investigators, with no clear shot of the man's face and nothing else to go on. The authorities were desperate for any leads. James refused to sit idle, rallying the Anchorage community in a massive effort to find his daughter. Her story caught the attention of national media. Donations poured in to fund a reward for any information, and people clung to hope that Samantha would be found unharmed. 3 weeks went by with no word from Samantha. Then on 24th February, Dwayne received a message from Samantha's phone, telling him to look at a particular sign in a public park. Dwayne and James hurried to the spot and found a plastic bag pinned to a bulletin board. Inside was a typed ransom note and a black and white photo of Samantha. In the image, she looked somewhat dazed, as if she weren't entirely aware of what was happening, and in her captor's hand was a copy of the Anchorage Daily News dated 13th of February. This was the so-called proof of life photo. The note instructed James to deposit $30,000 into his daughter's bank account. If he did, Samantha would supposedly be released within 6 months. Under the guidance of the FBI, James deposited a portion of the ransom, and investigators monitored the account closely. Sure enough, there were a few attempted withdrawals in Anchorage, but the suspect always slipped away before anyone arrived. Eventually, more withdrawals popped up in Arizona, then New Mexico, and finally Texas. Security footage revealed a man in a ski mask and sunglasses making these ATM visits, but his identity and license plate remained hidden. In Texas, however, a surveillance camera captured him driving off in a white Ford Focus, heading east on a highway. State Patrols was alerted, and on 13th of March, a trooper spotted the car outside a hotel. After the man in question, 34-year-old Israel Keys of Anchorage, got in and drove off. The trooper followed and pulled him over for speeding a mere 2 miles per hour above the limit. Inside Keys' car was a ski mask, a gun, Samantha's debit card, and her mobile phone. He was arrested on the spot. Despite initially denying any involvement, Keys soon broke under mounting evidence. He made a bizarre request for an Americano coffee, a peanut butter Snickers bar, and a cigar before agreeing to tell the story. What the investigators heard next was so distressing that even now, the full transcript hasn't been released. Keys revealed that on the 1st of February, he'd staked out the Common Grounds coffee stand with a plan to rob it, but upon seeing Samantha alone inside, he impulsively decided he'd also abduct her. When she handed him his drink, he pulled out a gun and forced her to kneel. He tied her hands and climbed in through the window himself, blocking any escape route. Then he escorted her to his vehicle, threatened to kill her if she made a sound. At some point, Keys took Samantha's phone and used it to send a deceitful text to her boyfriend, pretending she wanted space and would be away with her friends for a while. He told Samantha he intended to demand a ransom from her family and release her afterwards, but that was never his plan. In truth, he relished in the fear he inflicted and had no intention of letting her go. According to his chilling confession, Keys drove Samantha back to his home, left her bound in his shed with loud music and heaters running, then checked on his 10-year-old daughter and girlfriend sleeping inside the house. He would occasionally return to Samantha, spinning lies about negotiating a ransom, and cruelly gave her brief moments of hope before making it clear her fate was sealed. Eventually, he assaulted her and murdered her in the early hours of the morning, all while his daughter and girlfriend remained unaware in the house. Keys then departed for a 2-week holiday in New Orleans with his daughter, leaving Samantha's remains locked in the shed. On his return, he undertook a gruesome process of making her appear alive for the ransom photo by applying makeup, dressing her in fresh clothes, and stitching her eyelids open. After taking the picture used in the ransom note, he dismembered her body and disposed of the parts in a frozen lake. Investigation after the confession showed Israel Keys was not just a one-time killer. He was a calculated serial murderer who roamed America, burying kill kits filled with weapons and supplies. Once he felt the urge, he'd dig up a kit, choose a random victim, and carry out his attacks. Young or old, male or female, alone or in groups, it made no difference to him. Keys admitted to murdering Samantha and also an older couple in Vermont. Before he could reveal more, he took his own life in prison in December 2012, leaving the total number of his victims unknown. Investigators suspect he killed at least 11 people based on an unsettling drawing found in his cell, though that is merely an estimate. So that's the true story of Samantha Koenig and Israel Keys, a cautionary tale that still sends shivers down the spine. If you took anything from this account, let it be a reminder to stay safe and keep an eye out for each other. And if you appreciated this journey into the darker corners of human nature, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget to click on the notification bell so you stay in the know of all future videos. Thanks for watching.